Climate buster Biden Green SAR, John Kerry's jet unleashes tons of CO2. I thought this would be a pretty interesting thing. So, looks like John Kerry's efforts at making the world a greener place on behalf of President Biden come with a big environmental price tag. Biden's special envoy for climate has used his family's private jet, to travel the globe in pursuit of pushing a green agenda, while the plane has emitted more than 300 metric tons of carbon dioxide since he assumed the post, according to a new report. Which, like, it's always interesting to see people like this who are extremely woke in a sense that talk about climate change all the time and put the blame on humans of like basically destroying the planet while they themselves are riding in a private jet, right? It seems a little bit, I don't know, stupid, right? Like, and here's the thing. Personally, I don't have anything against people wanting to use a private jet. If you got the money, if you got the private jet, go ahead and use it. I don't care, right? But it's always interesting to see people who moan and complain about something and then just go and just engage in what they're complaining about. Like, it's just absolutely stupid. So the jet, a Gulfstream GIV-SP, has made 48 trips lasting more than 60 hours and released an estimated 715,886 pounds or 325 metric tons of carbon dioxide since Biden entered the White House in January 2021. Fox News reported citing data it's obtained through flight tracker FlightAware. And I believe the cost if you were to like charter a private jet for 60 hours is probably about like 5K per hour, I'm guessing. So it's probably about like, well, like $300,000 that this potentially cost them or would cost someone to actually engage in. Because the thing that people don't really understand is actually a lot cheaper to ride in a private jet than one would actually think. One would think that you'd have to be making like millions upon millions of dollars to ride in a private jet, but that's not really actually the case. So the jet belongs to a charter company, Flying Squirrel LLC, which is owned by Kerry's wife, Teresa Hines Kerry. Okay, so that makes it even weirder, right? So you're going to complain about climate change, right? You're trying to get people to go more green, and yet your wife literally owns a charter company involved with private jets. Wow. That's weird. So Kerry owns a more than $1 million stake in the company, the report said. For comparison, the Environmental Protection Agency estimates that the typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide a year. Since becoming the administration's climate czar, Kerry has circled the globe to attend climate conferences to raise awareness of the climate crisis. Wow. Again, like, I don't have a problem with like someone riding a private jet. I have a problem with BS, right? Like, I have a problem seeing someone engaging in straight up BS, right? Like, this is basically saying, like, hey, I'm not going to slap people. Well, actually, no, a better way to put it is like this: slapping is wrong. People should stop slapping other people. All the while, you are slapping your wife in the face. Like, This is practically the equivalent. Now, it's obviously not as extreme in a sense of like physical violence, but it's the same sort of BS. Kerry, the former Secretary of State in the Obama administration who played a crucial role in creating the 2016 Paris Climate Accord, was expected to travel to the Petersburg Climate Dialogue this week in Germany, where representatives from 40 governments will gather to discuss reducing emissions. His office suggested to Fox News that the envoy would use commercial aircraft to fly to the conference in Berlin. No, a spokesperson wrote in an email to Fox News asking if Kerry would use a private jet to go to Germany. By the way, that's a nice looking private jet. Just saying. So Secretary Kerry travels commercially or via military air in his role as Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, the spokesperson said. Kerry has called for transitioning from fossil fuels to green energy if the world wants to prevent the destruction caused by global warming and has predicted that coal powered power plants will not exist by 2030. And the thing is, if you want to go from coal power plants to more of a greener energy source, you need to go nuclear. That is the only way. So the problem with folks like John Kerry and the climate hypocrites who run the green movement is that they want to use the coercive power of government. Daniel Turner, the executive director of Power the Future, told Fox News. They want to use it internationally with groups like the UN, etc. They want to use the power of government to deny the rest of us the ability to use those fossil fuels that they take for granted, Turner said. They refuse to voluntarily live how they want the rest of us to be forced to live. He continued, it doesn't just make them hypocrites, it makes them, quite frankly, a threat to the rights and freedoms of people around the world. When John Kerry voluntarily lives the way he wants the rest of us to be compelled to live, then we can talk about his climate goals. Turner said he doesn't begrudge Kerry traveling by private plane, but he disagrees with a climate envoy benefiting from the use of fossil fuels while trying to deny their use to others. At what point will John Kerry and all the world leaders who care about climate change ever jump on a Zoom call? Turner said. And you know what? This is actually a really good point, right? Why the hell do you need to ride on a private jet to go to a conference about climate change when you could, I don't know, spend basically no money, emit basically no emissions by doing a Zoom call at like Starbucks? Like, you're not really contributing to the climate change issue, right? It's like, it's just so stupid. Like, seeing this amount of BS so blatant is just annoying to see. Ooh, a lot of comments. Would love to find out how much investments these Green New Deal activists have in that market that they're pushing so much. Too bad there's no one out there, a nerd, that can hack their stock account. Bet that most, if not all, have a big interest in the green economy. I mean, just look at Nancy Pelosi's husband in his stock trades. Of course, didn't you get the memo? They are all criminals. That's why I don't buy Heinz ketchup. Maybe they'll switch midair to wind only next time show. Americans have the technologies better than fossil fuels. He rides a private jet because he knows made climate change is a complete hoax. We can no more change 5,000 trillion tons of atmosphere to any dangerous degree than we can piss in the ocean and turn it yellow. When will America finally be free of this vile imbecile? Kerry's paternal grandparents were Austro-Hungarian Jewish immigrants. Gosh. 1 metric ton of CO2 visually is a 27 times 27 times 27 foot cube, with the gas inside actually weighing 1 metric ton. CO2 measurements in air flight are typically per passenger. This sounds like they calculated it for the entire aircraft, which is okay. John Kerry is a coward, a liar, counterfeit phony. What has he ever done positive for the USA? He is a real phony baloney, so is AOC and the rest of these commies. It's like farting into the face of America. Stop the hinds. On top of being a limousine liberal, he was a coward and traitor during the Vietnam War. Okay. 2.5 more years to go, then we won't hear from this gas bag anymore. By the time another Democrat is elected, he'll be too old. Then he can make his rounds with Biden in the nursing home circuit. Is this the plane John Hines paid for? Living off his wife's dead husband's money, not much of a man. With Kerry and his ilk, this is a dog bites man story. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, feel free to give your thoughts if you end up stumbling upon this. I just really do not like seeing someone who's actively and blatantly engaging in BS, right? Like just being blatantly lied to like this is just disgusting, to be frank. If you want to learn how to master your money and get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com or go down below. Either way, this is just really sad to see.